Good morning and welcome to the Hedge Hoops Betting stream hosted by the Competitive Hedge podcast. This is our second official episode of the show, and we talk all about basketball betting. We chat about some of the college basketball headlines before getting into today's slate. We're about 40 minutes from tip-off for a lot of these games, so really looking forward to getting into it. As I said, I'm Kenneth Carl. I'm joined by my co-host today. He is the host of the Into the Lab podcast, Ernest Silva. How are we doing today, bud?
Oh, it's nice to be a co-host on this side. I don't have to worry about anything, and I get to just enjoy myself on screen. That's wonderful.
I love to hear it. So we're going to chat about our own teams quickly. Then we'll chat about the slate very briefly. And then we're going to bring in some phenomenal cappers to give their favorite plays of the day. We have some submitted as well who couldn't make it on the stream this morning. Seems like a flu bug is going around, or a lot of people don't like me. So let's get right into things. Let's talk about your Texas Longhorns, because you are the co-host today. How are you feeling? They're 15-3 to open up the season. They've already got wins over TCU, Creighton, and Gonzaga. How are you feeling today? You get to march in and take on Huggy and company in West Virginia.
No, I mean, I'm feeling good at 15-3, considering Chris Beard's not the head coach anymore. But, as much as you want to say that's old news, it's absolutely relevant to the Texas Longhorn structure. The coaching staff has done great. We lost against Iowa State recently, which many would believe to be like, oh, these are signs of conference to come. No, it's hard to win conference games on the road. So let's just put it like that. Texas at home against a good West Virginia team. I'm feeling really good about the Longhorns today, and I'm going to talk all about it later with my pick. But the Longhorns are great. They've got young talent. The return of Timmy Allen and Marcus Carback as the veterans on this group have been great. So Jabari Rice has been phenomenal, and Dylan Mitchell has been phenomenal watching him develop. So a lot of young talent to go with some of the veterans that came back on this team, some of the seniors. And it's a really strong and deep core of about 8 to 9 on this team that you can play come March. So I'm excited about Texas, and I'm really excited about Texas today.
Yeah, what I like about them is the balance that they have. Obviously, Marcus Carr leading the group. He's 17-4-3 stats-wise on the year, shooting 45%. So he's kind of the leading scorer. But you mentioned some of the guys already. Timmy Allen, Tyrese Hunter, Jabari Rice. They're all averaging double-digit points. So they're doing a great job providing that secondary scoring that you need come March. I really loved Texas at the start of the year. And the only thing that's kind of holding me back heading into March is that Chris Beard situation, because I thought that he was a top 5 college basketball coach. Obviously, Texas made the right decision letting him go due to his off-the-court stuff. But, man, I felt really good about Texas heading into the year. I don't feel quite as good now looking at it now. So at least you have something to be excited about. On my side of things, my Duke Blue Devils, they have not been great to start the year. They're 13-5 overall. They just lost to Clemson by 8 points last weekend. They do have some quality wins. I'll give them that. Iowa's a nice win, Ohio State and Xavier. But anytime they've taken on elite level competition, they've faltered, such as that Kansas game earlier in the year. Now, for me, this is just a lot of top prospects that just haven't lived up quite yet. And I don't know if that has to do with coaching, if it just has to do with the overall system that they're running. But Kyle Filipowski is kind of the guy for them right now. He's averaging 15-9 on the year. But Jeremy Roach is the second leading scorer, shooting 35% on the year. So he's putting up a ton of shots for this group. He wasn't doing that last year when he had Paolo and company alongside him. So now I think he's struggling, having to take on that additional workload. Derek Lively, I mean, he's the number 1 recruit, averaging 3 points per game. Dariq Whitehead, he was the number 2 overall prospect, and he's only averaging 8 points per game. So I don't know if this is just John Shire just struggling in his first year as a head coach, or whether this is just a bad system overall. But what do you make of Duke so far?
I like to think it from a general perspective of how many times do you go from a Hall of Fame or even a GOAT head coach from Coach K and then transition your first year to being a winning program? And how many times in college basketball history does that happen? It's very slim, right? Like, you probably name a handful you can think off the top of your head for different programs. But I have to say, anytime you transition from being 1A and 1B to being, or from 1B to 1A, it's very, you get those rough roads for Duke. And so what Duke has going for it is the name, right? Like, every year we see Duke or Kentucky or any of those blue collar schools, like, just be very much okay during the season. And as soon as they start dancing, it's like, can't take them out, right? Like, you just can't beat them. And And so that's my thing about Duke is you can struggle all year and then come March you're going to be perfectly fine because you're so intimidating when it comes to your name. But I just think it's growing pains all the way around from becoming the guy in the rotation and also for the head coach situation and establishing your own routine.
Yeah, I think it's because they had such a great recruiting class coming in that everyone was so optimistic around Duke. Obviously, that hasn't lived up so far. They do have some time to figure it out. They have a very tough test today, which is a great segue into today's game slate because we're going to chat about the top 25 games and maybe some ones that we like heading into the slate. So we're going to start over in the ACC. Duke somehow minus five and a
I
half.
saw that this morning.
It was a puzzling line. I know, like you mentioned it earlier, winning conference games on the road is never easy, but
Yeah.
to give Duke minus 5.5, I think is generous, and it makes me worried to see that line because I was expecting closer to some of these other lines that we're seeing, which is Virginia minus 3.5 on the road, and then Virginia Tech taking on Clemson, and Clemson's minus 2.5 at home. That's what I was expecting was minus 2.5. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be on Miami. We already saw a comment about Isaiah Wong and how he's probably going to have a big day today. But any ACC games for you that you're looking at?
First one was obviously Duke Miami. I saw the spread and I thought if you're not comfortable hammering the money line on Miami, then take the spread. I think that's easy. You're at home. You're playing against a Duke team that hasn't looked like Duke exactly all year, and I was leaning Miami at home today.
So Miami's on the road, Ernest. Come on.
That's what I meant. Miami on the road today. Yeah, taking Miami. That's why I don't talk college hoops.
And that's why I do like the 5.5 line with Miami today. I think Duke on the money line, I think they'll edge it out, but I'm also super biased, so I'll stay away from that one. The one that I'm looking at is that Clemson Virginia Tech game. Clemson's 10-0 at home and Virginia Tech's 0-5 on the road. Feels like a good spot for Clemson to win. I don't know if I like it enough, though, at the minus 2.5. I might just sprinkle money line it. It's a bit of a safer play, but I think if I'm going to go anywhere with the ACC today, it would be there. Big Ten-wise, no top 25 games today. They do have Purdue going tomorrow. Big Ten overall has been just a lot of teams beating each other this year, as it has been in years past. Now, the best conference probably in college basketball this year, the Big 12. Your Big 12. Now we got TCU there taking on Kansas, who are minus 7.5 at home. You got Texas Tech and Kansas State. Kansas State minus 4.5 at home. You've got Iowa State minus 1.5 on the road against the Cowboys. Then you've got Baylor minus 2.5 versus Oklahoma, and then your Texas Longhorns against West Virginia, who are minus 1.5. Now, I think we already know Texas money line for you.
Oh yeah, that's like a no-brainer. That's on every parlay imaginable today. Texas money line. You hammer that. I'd even do Texas minus 10.5 if I could. It's gonna be up. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Texas money line is a pick. If you want to look elsewhere, it's a Kansas game. TCU is great, but they struggle on the road, and Kansas is going to be fantastic. I say that, and TCU beat Texas at home, so I should shut up. But TCU struggles against like non-emotional wins. Big 12 is an emotional conference, so. That's going to be a great game. I would definitely take Kansas and the spread. If you don't trust me, then just do Kansas money line. It's going to be fine for them today. All of these matchups are really great though, and this close spreads, I just stay away in the Big 12 today.
The super juiced Kansas money line. No, I think if I was going anywhere today, I would probably go TCU on the points with that one. I do like Kansas State at home today. They are 9-0 at home this year. So I do like that minus 4.5. I know it's Texas Tech, and they're a team that seems to like to go on the road and knock some teams off, but I also kind of liked Texas money line. What kept me away was the fact that I played TCU at West Virginia this week, and it was a similar number to that. And then West Virginia kind of ran them off the floor. So I'm a little bit concerned around that game, but I might just sprinkle Texas money line just because my co-host is on it as well. Big East wise, we got 3 games here. You got Xavier minus 17 against Georgetown. You got Providence are minus 8.5, and then Marquette are minus 2.5 on the road against Seton Hall. For me, the game that I'm playing, and it's my favorite one of the day, I love the Providence minus 8.5. They're 10-0 at home. I know they've lost 2 straight games, but I think DePaul is a bottom 3 team in this conference overall. So I really love that Providence minus 8.5. A lot of people, I think, are skeptical of Providence, and this happened last year as well, where they're like, well, they're going to lose at some point, or they're going to start racking up losses. And then they didn't until tournament times. So I really like the Providence spread. Any of these three intrigue you?
I'm a big proponent of underdog basketball, so I'll obviously be pounding Seton Hall in this game and buying a couple points. I'm gonna go Seton Hall plus 4.5 at home. I actually think they might win this game. I know they're 12-8. I know they haven't looked special, but at home against the conference foe, and Marquette, they're good. Some people really love them. I'm not a huge Marquette fan. I like watch. So I actually prepped for this show. So I actually watched some highlights of the last 5 Marquette games. I watched some highlights from last year. I like the matchup. I think Seton Hall matches up well. I think they'll control the paint. So I'm going to go Seton Hall at home with rebounds.
I like it. Now there's one Pac-12 game today, that being UCLA in Arizona. I'm staying away, but this is definitely, I think this is the game of the day to watch. I think it's going to be super up and down. There's going to be a ton of points. So any side for you in this game, or is this just a tune in?
This is a game you watch because you just want to watch really good basketball. But after you finish, after you finish the Texas game, you could probably flip this on for a little bit. I mean, the Texas game is the one to watch today. But UCLA, Arizona's a lot of talent. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not putting this in any parlay or putting any money in this game. It's just going to be fun basketball. So enjoy it.
SEC, we got 4 games happening there. Arkansas is minus 9.5 at home. You got Auburn minus 12.5 on the road. Tennessee minus 11.5 on the road. And Alabama minus 6.5 on the road. I like that Missouri spread at home, the plus 6.5. I know that Bama's been blowing out teams quite a bit this year, but I just think Missouri riding off that momentum of beating Arkansas midweek. I really like the number there for the plus 6.5. Any of these games for you, it's tough when all these games are more or a touchdown or more, it seems.
Yeah, no, I'm not really betting this. The game in the conference is not even a top 25 game. It's Kentucky A&M, and that's the game to watch. And that's the game I'm putting money on. A&M money line on the road against Kentucky, just all day. All day. I'm putting that in a ton of parlays. I like, if we're going to keep with the games on the screen, I'm just going to sprinkle that Texas A&M money line in there. But if we talk about the game on the screen, I think the one that stands out to me the most is Arkansas. Arkansas Ole Miss game would probably be fun basketball. I don't like the spread, so I'm taking Ole Miss plus 9.5 today.
All right, in the last 3, we got 3 other ranked teams going today. Number 18, Charleston, they're minus 9.5 on the road against Northeastern. You got number 24, Florida Atlantic, who are minus 5.5 versus UTEP. And then Gonzaga, this line opened at 12.5, and it is now at 16.5, so a 4-point movement overnight. So they're taking on Pacific today. I like Florida Atlantic spread. We had that as an official show play last week from Rob, who I know is in the waiting room here. He had minus 3.5, and they barely covered last week. But I think that this is a good road spot for them. Any of these 3 before we bring on our guests?
Yeah, I was going to take UTEP just to be a Texas joke, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I feel really bad for Pacific. It's going to be like a 40-point game because Gonzaga's going to take it out on them. So it's going to be just a massacre at the Pacific. So Gonzaga minus 16.5, pound it.
All right. So with that, we're going to head over to our guest picks. This is where we're going to start bringing on some of our phenomenal cappers from the space. They're going to give us their favorite player too from today. And we're going to start with the first-time guest on the show. He is in Sports Picks. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Good. What have you got for us here this morning?
So I got a women's college basketball play. I got Ball State minus 24.5 for Central Michigan. Okay. It's on. You can find that on mybookie.ag or like Bet Online. It's a lot of like offshore books because it's a lot like FCS football where like the Lions come out the day of the game. So, but yeah, Ball State's they're one of the highest scoring teams in the conference in the MAC, and then Central Michigan's basically at the bottom of every stat you can find in the MAC. So that's why I really like Ball State minus 24.5, and then another play that like the line's not up yet, but I like Tulsa money line. If you can find that, the game's at like 3 p.m. Eastern time. They play Houston, and so those are my 2 picks for the day.
What do you like so much about Tulsa today? What is it?
So they're on a 7-game win streak. I've honestly been picking them a lot this year, and I've been pretty successful with them. And I think they're 5-0 in the American right now, and they're just like a really good all-around team as well.
Okay, I like the picks. I'm going to tail them both today, given that you're a first-time guest on the show, and I really appreciate that. We finally have women's college basketball in here as well. Ernest knows this. I'm a big WNBA bettor. I need to get more into the women's college basketball side of things, but I really do appreciate you hopping on. Promote yourself. Where can the folks find your work?
So you can find me at Almond Picks on Twitter. You can DM me anytime. So yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Really do.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Great, thanks.
I like it. I think I'm going to play both. As I said, I haven't bet much in the way of women's college basketball, and I need to get more into it. I think it's because once you start to get into the top teams, like the spreads get pretty outlandish because it's a little bit more top heavy, I think, on the women's side in college basketball. But it's definitely something I need to get into. And you do a lot of great work with like women's basketball as well. So we obviously appreciate the women's game over here at the Hedge Hoops Betting stream. Now, we're going to bring on another first-time guest. He is Tarp Sports. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me.
All right. What have you got for us here today? Give us a couple of your favorites.
All right, so this one's a little scary for me, but what's gambling without a little good sweat? You know, we got some reverse line movement in this pick. I'm liking Missouri at home in the SEC. Reverse line movement. This action app saying it opened at 6, all the way down to 4.5, depending on the book. I think Missouri can just slow down Alabama's pace. Their defense has been really good this year. Not a lot of turnovers on the offensive side. You know, they steal the ball, averaging 11 steals a game. I think if they can slow down this Alabama team because Alabama's pace is what kills people. They're very fast. So I think Missouri's been very good at slowing down people, and I love that 4.5 at home in the SEC.
I agree. I love that Missouri line. That Arkansas game midweek was really good too. And that was kind of a different game than they're used to because that was a little bit more of a shootout. It was 79-76. So I agree. I think that they have a great opportunity to slow down Bama. What do you think, Ernest?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a game to watch. I like the pick. I didn't even look at that game, so I'm going to go ahead and just be honest. But I'm going to write the pick because you're picking it. So I'm filling out my parlay right now.
I appreciate it, brother.
Any other picks you got for us?
Not really with college basketball. Are you guys MMA fans?
Yeah, give us an MMA pick. What have you got today?
I got Jessica Andrade to win by submission or KO. That's a finish. She's a killer, man. The only losses she has on her record as of recently are all champion Shevchenko, arguably the GOAT in women's MMA. Rose Namajunas, but she lost that to a split decision. And Wei Li, she also lost to. But Jessica Andrade is a straight killer. Lauren Murphy's very respectable, but most people only know her off of her most recent fight, which was a title fight. Or actually, she just beat Miesha Tate. But before that, she got a title fight and got KO'd by Shevchenko. But who hasn't? But the only reason she got that title fight was because Shevchenko just cleared out the division. She just needed someone new, and it was a split decision versus Joanne Wood, someone who Jessica Andrade finished already. And I think Jessica Andrade is going to, especially in Brazil, she's just going to keep on pushing forward. If you watch her fight, she's the aggressor in all her fights, and I think she's going to be too much for Lauren Murphy.
What are the odds on that one?
It's coming in at minus like 100. I got it last night at 105.
Okay.
It probably went up a little bit.
And we definitely love the MMA as well. Ernest and I are good friends of the Boomtown Pod as well. He gave us an MMA pick last week on our hockey stream, and that was a hit as well. So nice. I'll tell both of them as well. Appreciate you hopping on. Promote yourself. Where can the folks find your work?
Yes, sir. I'm on Tarp Sports everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I like to put out a lot of content, not just gambling. I like to make predictions. On YouTube, I predicted breakout superstars for UFC this year. A lot of good stuff over here, man. And the website's coming also.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Go follow him now if you're tuning into the stream. Thanks for hopping on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, fellas. Best.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's mix it up. I'm putting all sorts of things in this thing.
I am, because I got the Missouri at 6.5, and he's getting it at 4.5 now. Like, there has been some movement here, obviously. So I think I agree. I do like this number for Missouri at home. I think a lot of people are betting it, but if you got it at 6.5, I'd feel especially comfortable. But we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. Now, we did have a couple picks submitted who aren't in the waiting room. Unfortunately, they were unable to make it. First one, and I know that this was trolling me, was Mo Murphy gave me Miami plus 5.5 today against Duke. And it's hard not to agree with them.
I know.
Because Duke at home, I know that it's probably one of the toughest environments to win in college basketball, but it doesn't feel like that building has the same like juice to it that it did, especially last year and the years prior. So I do kind of like the Miami points. I definitely won't go and bet it because I refuse to bet against my own team, but it is something that I would definitely keep an eye on. Now, we also have another guest in the waiting room. He came on last week. He gave us Florida Atlantic -3.5. I think they won by 4, if I'm not mistaken, last week. So let's bring him on. Rob, the sportsman. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
How big did you sweat that play last week?
Oh, my goodness. That was absolutely ridiculous. Watching that game, I expected it to be a win, obviously, for Florida Atlantic. I did not expect it to be that close of a game coming down the wire. I mean, they were pretty lucky for anyone that watched that game. They were very fortunate to come out with a win, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely one that I was keeping an eye on, and yours wasn't the only one. We had DeCucci on last week, and it took a buzzer beater 3 to cover his play. Unfortunately, I was the one who let down the show parlay for last week in that Kansas game. So what have you got for us here today as your favorite play?
Yeah, so today I'm looking at St. Joseph's. I got it -2. They're at home versus UMass, but I think it's -2.5 right now. So same thing, still works. They have a true home advantage of 4 points, which is great to see. As far as advanced statistics, both these teams are pretty close. And when you look at UMass, one thing that they've struggled with the last few games is some injuries. They're getting RJ Lewis back today, but Noah Fernandez is still likely out. So St. Joseph's is definitely the team I want to take here. When you look at they have a nice shooting advantage as far as threes are concerned. 5-2 at home when they are the favorite, which is nice to see. They're also, the last 5 games, they've played pretty well, definitely better than we've seen from UMass. The luck ranking, actually, that's one thing that I've started to look at a little more with some of these games. And you see UMass is a team that actually has a pretty high luck ranking. And so when you take all those things into consideration, and again, with Noah Fernandez still out for UMass, I do like St. Joseph's here at that -2 or -2.5 spot at home.
Yeah, I like it as well. I know that both teams are kind of turnover prone, but it's more so, it's still in favor of St. Joe's in that regard. Offensive rating wise, they're also the better team here. So I do like this play. I think that them at home against UMass is a really good play. Any other ones that you're feeling today, Rob?
You know, another one that I looked at just recently, actually, is that Clemson spot. They're taking on Virginia Tech. I do kind of like Clemson, -1.5 at home. That's a game that I think is going to be really good. But when you look at both those teams, I do like the advantage. Look at Clemson shooting 37% from 3, 78% from the line. That shooting advantage is going to make a big difference. Plus, they have one of the best home court advantages actually in college basketball at 5 points a game. I do really like that spot now.
I do have a source within the Clemson basketball team that I'm probably going to reach out to today about this play, because he even told me last week that he felt good about their Duke game. And then they pulled it out. Now, obviously, he's going to be the homer because he's in the team, but it is one that I'm definitely going to reach out to, see what his thoughts are around this game today. I love the Clemson spot at home. I think it's a really good one. What do you think, Ernest?
I just added to my parlay. He sold me. Yeah, I'm in. 5 points average at home. Give it to me. Take the 1 point spread.
Yeah, it works out well. I like that play a lot.
All right, Rob, promote yourself. Where can the folks find your stuff?
Yep, you can find me at the Sports Min. And then, of course, I am with NBN Radio, Nothing But Net on Dash Radio, as well as I have my own podcast, The Howl, where we are covering all things NBA and Timberwolves.
How you feeling about your T-Wolves?
It's pretty up and down. You come into this season, obviously, with big expectations and injuries, Rudy Gobert being whatever he is at this stage in his career. It's not been great.
You got a big game. You got a big game tonight. Huge game tonight.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If we don't win that game, I think I just need to stop watching.
I'll be honest. I backed the Houston Rockets for the first time all year. Last game against Charlotte, I thought it was such a good spot at home, and then they ended up losing by 5. They're on a 12-game losing streak. So, Rob, don't let it be tonight.
It's Minnesota sports, though. We find ways to lose unlosable games. That's
don't do that to me. I plug Minnesota everywhere.
It's honestly, it's the type of situation where they would, because they play them back to back, they'd probably lose to Houston both times, but then they would go and beat the Pelicans and the Grizzlies or something.
That's exactly what they do.
Is this team good? I have no idea. So,
they're the definition of a 500 team. Very, very true.
Thanks for hopping on, buddy. Really appreciate
thanks for having me.
I like it. I don't like Houston when it comes to basketball.
I like Houston. I don't like Houston tonight. I absolutely put Timberwolves money line everywhere.
Yeah, it's a little juiced. I mean, it's 8.5 the spread, but
Yeah.
it's a nice parlay piece. Was there any NBA games that you were looking at today? I know that it's more college basketball focused, but anything NBA that you were looking at?
There's a lot of great games. I'm looking at the Phoenix Suns. I like the Suns spread at home against the Pacers. I think that's a great play for today if you're trying to mix in and sprinkle in some NBA magic. And then, of course, I like the Wizards at home. And if you don't trust the Wizards spread like I don't, then you can probably just sprinkle in a money line to help your parlays. But those are both guarantee games for me.
I kind of like Charlotte tonight at plus 7.5 against Atlanta. And Atlanta looked really good against the Knicks last night, but it feels like a letdown spot because that Knicks game's kind of feels like a rivalry game a bit after that playoff series a couple years ago. So I think they really got up for that Knicks game at home. Now they have to take on Charlotte, and it's a team that they should beat. Just feels like it could be a tight game, even if Atlanta wins. So I do kind of like the points there.
Yeah, it sounds like Atlanta's resting a few players too, so that's going to come out officially towards game time. But it sounds like they're leaning
So
Capella
go get it
out.
now at 7.5.
Yeah,
that's the
before
other
it jumps
thing.
down. Yeah,
Back-to-backs in the NBA right now. If you get those early lines where you really like them, go and bet them because the chances are guys are going to fit. Especially a game like Charlotte, they feel like they can still win without Trae Young and a number of other guys. Now, we'll give a couple more picks that we got submitted from other people. The first one came from Group Gamblers. Really love their content over on Twitter, but they were chatting about Baylor. And I know that you're a Texas guy. You're obviously Longhorns guy, but Baylor right now, they're 30-1 odds to win the national title. They're plus 800 for the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of in this spot today. They're minus 2.5 on that spread. And I really do like that on the road against Oklahoma. I know that Baylor are just 2-2 on the road, but they have won 3 straight games, so they are rolling. I don't think Oklahoma's that good. I think they're kind of one of these bottom teams in the Big 12 this year. But what do you think of that number today?
Yeah, I mean, if you shy away from 2, you don't really trust Baylor. It's down to 2 now, so you're not getting that extra half. I'm probably staying away from this game because Oklahoma likes to play the spoiler. For parlays, they have a 500 record against the spread. So I'm going to go ahead and say stay away. But if you like Baylor and you're a fan, I'm never afraid to say go follow your heart and bet your team because you're going to watch it anyways, right? So bet your team. But I shy. I shy.
I do think that if you are even scared of the spread there, like you could just go and bet straight up money line and you're still getting value. Like it's not juiced when you're sitting at a minus.
I guess so.
2. So
yeah.
I mean, like you can go get it minus 140. I'm sure if you shop around, you can get a little bit better lines on it as well. But I do think that there's some value to be had there. So I do like Baylor today as well. I think that's a good Big 12 play. When we're talking other plays that we had submitted, shout out to Part-Time Picks. He gave us another international basketball play for today, which was Napoli minus 1.5 in Italian basketball versus Salernitana. He told me that I would butcher the name on it, but unfortunately Tenerife last week he gave us the minus 5.5 and I played it and they went to overtime and unfortunately at minus 5.5 they only won by I think it was 3 or 4 points. So was unable to cover, but he's had a lot of great plays recently as well in the space. So go and check out Part-Time Picks. Walker Bailey sent me a bunch, some that I've already chatted about and some that I really like. TCU, the plus 7.5 against Kansas. This is just a weird game for me. I was really leaning TCU this morning. I got it at 8.5 yesterday. So I'm thankful that I did now that this line's moving in TCU's favor. But Kansas at home coming off a loss, that's going to be a fun game to watch. Probably.
I stray away from good teams coming off losses. I just feel like they just smack the next opponent. Like that's why I'm really pounding Jayhawks and Zags today. Like I just think that I'm sure Texas was screwing on my parlays, but Texas off losses. If you're really that good of a team, you're going to come smack the next opponent. That's just the way I see it. Like if you're a good team, you're bounce back. You don't want your coach yelling at you, right? We've all played. We all don't want that crap. So. Like that's my
especially programs with expectations.
Yeah, especially top 10 teams. Yeah.
He's also on the Missouri line. He got it at plus 5. So again, if I think that it's a good spot against Bama today. One in the SEC. You had already mentioned the A&M and Kentucky game. Florida plus 2.5 versus Mississippi State was one that he was playing. I thought it was an interesting line, especially given State's lost 3 straight games. So I think it is a pretty good road spot today. And then the other one that he gave me was Kennesaw State plus 3 versus Florida Gulf Coast. Could not tell you what Florida Gulf Coast has done since they were the 15 seed that one year. So I think that's where I'm at with that play. I hope that he's right on the Kennesaw State line. But Ernest, let's cook up a 4-team parlay here. That's how we cap off the show. So
all right, let's start with UTSA.
UTSA.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I'm comfortable putting Texas.
Okay,
Money line today. I do like the Missouri line. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's a good line.
I'm going with Mizzou.
Rob gave us a winner last week, so I'm inclined to trust him today on that St. Joe's line because I want to get these in quickly because tip-off's in 10 minutes. So
okay.
St. Joe's at minus 2.5 today. You can even get it at minus 2, I think he said. And then we need a last one. What is the last one today? Is it that Gonzaga number?
I think it is, man. I think it is. And it's actually jumped to 18 points now.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I think everybody's predicting blowout. I honestly feel like it's a 40-point game. I do. Like, I'm not even joking.
Okay. So we'll go Gonzaga, Texas. We'll throw in Missouri, and then we'll cap it off with Rob's play there. Yeah, I think we got a good 4-teamer. We'll post it on social media as soon as the stream is off. Let's go in cash today. We had some great plays submitted today. Go check out the guys that hopped on here today. Tarp Sports, Almond Sports. There was a lot of great picks today. Rob the Sportsman as well. And then we had a lot of other great ones. I have someone in Canucks money line. I'm kind of scared. Canucks money line. What have we got?
Oh, am I early?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to troll. Go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets? Is that your
Go
play
Nuggets.
tonight?
I don't know.
Amazing. All right. So we'll cap it off there. Go check out Ernest's show at Into the Lab Pod. Go and check out my show, Competitive Hedge Podcast, as well. Really appreciate everyone who hopped in the stream today. And we got the hockey stream coming up as well in 3 hours' time here. So definitely check that one out with Spit and Picklets and myself. Appreciate everyone who hopped in. Miami plus 6.5. I'm getting trolled again on this game. So let's cap it off there. Appreciate everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you guys next Saturday.